So we are here today. Our CEO, Mr. Adrian Tănase, joining us, same as our CFO, Mr. Gius Troia, and our senior financial controller. We will be discussing our latest results released this morning for the third quarter and the first 9 months of 2022. As usual, we are now looking a bit at the share price evolution, the multiples, ownership structure. We haven't seen any significant changes in terms of ownership in the last quarter. Again, the main shareholders are the Romanian institutions, with their sharing slightly increasing about 80% as of the end of September. In terms of share price, third quarter was very good for the BVB share. Actually, it has increased around roughly 15% during the third quarter. And this is, even more positive considering that overall the market has had a very bearish direction. Moving forward to the results. So the highlights of the third quarter. Here, what we can notice on the positive side, the group results were all in the green, with the revenues, operating profit, and net profit seeing significant increases. The main driver for this group performances was the earnings and profit growth at central depository level, as well as the lower CCP cost. On the standalone basis, or the trading activity, we have seen weaker results compared with the third quarter of 2021, and this is driven by the lower trading volumes, as well as the lack of public offers during the period. On the expense side, we have seen smaller increases in terms of operating expenses, with a 9% increase on a standalone basis and 1% increase at consolidated level year on year, while the quarter-on-quarter numbers show actual decreases both on a standalone and consolidated basis. Again, because we mentioned the volumes, this is the typical chart. We can see actually that in the third quarter, the volumes were, let's say, stuck at the lowest level of the range, and they were significantly lower compared to the third quarter of 2021. Some general updates in terms of primary market, what we see now and what we hear as well from the investor side, but also from other potential companies interested in financing through the stock exchange. Everybody seems to be positioning for the hydroelectric IPO. The latest estimates we heard in terms of timing is the second quarter of 2023. So we rather believe that on the equity side, at least, significant IPOs are unlikely ahead of the hydroelectric listing. On the CCP side, and here I'm sure Adrian will give a more thorough update. In December, we will start the initial tests with the technical solutions with our partners. And in terms of timing, so the authorization is expected in the first half and start of operation in the second half of next year. Some important projects that took place during the second quarter. We had a significant event with the representatives of the Moldovan capital markets and also representatives from the Moldovan political leadership, with the occasion of the announcement of the largest bank in Moldova about its intention to list on Bucharest Stock Exchange in 2023. We do see more potential there on the long term, but of course this is a very, very, let's say, complicated or complex project, but we hope it will bring rewards on the long term for the local capital market as well as for the Moldovan economy. Also, a very important development during the third quarter, the Ministry of Finance, or at the end of third quarter, the Ministry of Finance published the strategy for the development of the Romanian capital market. The strategy was designed based on a set of recommendations prepared by OECD as a consultant in the project. And we were very, very pleased to see that significant measures aiming at increasing liquidity, increasing investor access, improving financial literacy were included in the plan of measures to be undertaken by the government as well as by the local regulator. Again, in terms of share price, as we said in the third quarter, there was significant uptick in the interest on the buy side for the BVB shares. And year to date already our performance is roughly 31%, being the top performers in the BET index. This can also be slightly correlated with the inclusion in the FTSE Global Microcap indices, which took place in September 2022, but as well as with the prospects related to the hydroelectric IPO in 2020. Yes, here we are jumping towards the results side, and I think Christina will take over.
Thank you. So regarding the financial performance on BVB standalone, the operating revenues have increased 33% year on year, up to the value of 24.34 million RON, due to higher trading revenues, mainly from the public offers, which increased 4 times compared with the previous period, while the revenues from regular transactions increased 16%, which is mainly due to higher volumes traded in the first 6 months of the year. Operating revenues are in amount of 1571 million, increase of 16%. They are generated by higher personal expenses and other operating expenses, mainly influenced by the inflation increase. Operating profit is up 80%, up to the value of 8.8 million RON. Financial result is in amount of 3.2 million RON, up 88%, influenced by the dividend received from Depozitarul Central in amount of 1.53 million RON. Net profit exceeds 10 million RON, almost double compared to the previous period, with a net margin of 43%. Regarding the performance in the third quarter, already mentioned by Remus, operating revenues have a slight decrease of 8%, influenced by a low level of trading revenues, while the operating expenses increased by 9%, generating an operating profit lowered by 49%, down to 1 million RON. The financial result is 78% higher, mainly due to the increase in USD RON exchange rate, with a positive impact on the evaluation of financial investments in USD. Net profit is 1.4 million RON, in line with the evolution of operating profit, but influenced by the improvement in financial results. Moving on to BVB Group figures. The operating revenues are in amount of 42.7 million RON, up 31%, influenced by increase in all business segments. Operating expenses are in amount of 33.5 million RON, up 8%, influenced by higher personnel expenses and other operating expenses at group level, mainly result of the impact of inflation increase. Operating profit of 9.14 million RON, significant increase of over 5 times year on year, with direct impact on the net profit, which exceeds the value of 10 million RON, 180% increase compared to the previous period. A better third quarter of at group level compared to the previous period. The 4% increase in revenues and the cost of the level of operating expenses generated an operating profit higher by 68%, almost 1 million RON, which together with the positive impact on the financial result led to a net profit of 1.95 million RON. Regarding the revenues on segments, the trading revenues, the trading segment represents 57% of group's revenue and recorded the high increase of 34% year on year. Post-trading segment revenues are in amount of 11.5 million, up to 23%, and are based on higher revenues from participants and local settlements revenues. Registry segment is in amount of 6.93 million and are up 33% due to higher revenues from issuers operations. Looking in detail on operating expenses of BVB, the increase of around 2 million RON is generated by personal expenses due to an increase in average number of employees and the annual indexation of salaries according to the remuneration policy, together with the operating expenses, which are influenced by inflation increase, mainly on administrative cost side. At consolidated level, the operating expenses increase of 8% is generated also by personal expenses. Already mentioned the higher number of employees and the annual salary indexation. But we also have the impact of one-off event related to the alignment to the group accounting policy of Depositariul Central, with an impact of 0.3 million RON increase in personal expenses. The increase is amplified by other operating expenses also, while third-party services expenses decrease as a result of lower consulting expenses in CCP. And regarding the financial position, there are no significant variations as of 30th of September. On BVB standalone, on the asset side, there is a slight increase in financial instruments and bank deposits, while on liabilities, there is a decrease in payables generated by reversal of personal accruals performed at year-end. At group level, non-current assets, there is a slight increase generated by the new acquisition of financial instruments, while on liabilities, there is increase in trade payables following the accruals recorded at the end of the third quarter, especially on Depositariul Central. So that's it for me. Virgil, if you have something to add.
No, this time, so we don't have other elements to be added, so to say, so some extra interesting IFRS or other accounting things that could give you more clues on our financial statement or what will happen.
Mariam, do you have
Yeah, maybe, probably about the central counterparty project. You are in the final. You are starting as the Remus had mentioned. You are starting the first stage of testing the system and discussing heavily with the authorities. And yes, we have as a target to register the file, the official file, by the end of this year. Hopefully, we'll manage this and to initiate a formal authorization process for the CCP, and this will create a timeline to operationalize it, so to obtain the authorization and to start the operation of the CCP in the second half of next year. I know that yes, we are presenting updates because there are a lot of developments that are happening in each quarters, and this is and unfortunately all these events are creating delays rather than accelerations of the process. But I think we are into a constructive and technical stage. As I said, we want to initiate the first testing stage with possible the next, with possible the banks with which will become and or have the prospect to become general clearing members, and with individual clearing members, with the market participants, market operators. We'll have this first round of testing the system at the beginning of December.
So yes, in case there are any questions from the participants.
Hi, yeah, good morning. I have just a couple of questions for you. The first one is, how do you see the market evolving next year? Are you expecting lower trading volumes? And are there any is there any space for fees to be flexed to compensate for these lower volumes, and by how much? Second question would be regarding costs, if there are any cost-saving measures that are being put into place to fight the inflationary pressures right now. And to finalize, how does that all reflect on your capacity to pay dividends in the future? Thank you.
Yep, maybe I can cover the volume question. So basically, for us, we feel that we are, in an inflection moment in terms of development and size of the market, and this is all driven and this is all centered on the hydroelectric IPO, because yes, we speak about let's say 2 billion plus minus some percentage points of new listing. That could definitely drive the market higher on many levels. On one hand, we expect the number of retail investors to increase significantly because hydroelectric is an extremely visible and well-known domestic champion. On the other hand, we expect also higher foreign participation, and that could be very beneficial on the foreign investor perspective. We might have decent chances to be put at least on the watch list for MSCI emerging markets inclusion. Also, as I touched briefly in the presentation, we see that the current low volumes are also driven by this, let's say, positioning ahead of hydroelectrica, as large domestic investors are already starting to maybe to save money or to accumulate and to increase their liquidity ahead of the IPO. But when the IPO will be closer to arriving or will be in process, we might see a lot of portfolio adjustments and changes in the portfolio of the large investors, perhaps, and we might have actually a very positive year liquidity-wise. But again, it's all up to hydroelectrica, and now the best case scenario is, the base case scenario is it will happen in the second quarter. So actually, we are quite positive in this respect. And this also explains probably as the share price evolution. So our view is currently shared by the market. And on the cost side, I'm not sure, maybe.
On the cost side, yes, we are seeing and we are touching this subject. The costs are influenced and increased the general administration costs, and also the current costs for running the system increased. Yes, we have some tools also limited regarding to cover this inflation. Part of our revenues are adjusted with the yearly with the inflation rate. So regarding the maintenance tax for our issuers, and also regarding the sale of data, of the data dissemination, so generated by the stock exchange. But on the other hand, we have also pressures from the market and we will have also in the future, especially on the personnel expenses here. As you know, the market and the situation in the personnel market, it's not so easy for the companies, for the employers, not employees. And probably this will have also an impact in the next year budget. But as Remus said, the volatility that is expected from the hydroelectrica listing could help us.
And maybe something we haven't mentioned. Recently, we have convened a general shareholders meeting for the second half of December. to approve the proposed change of headquarters that the management proposed. So prior to the GSM, there will be also more information available regarding this change in headquarters.
Understood. And how does that reflect on your dividend paying capacity? Do you still
regarding the dividends, the same policy is in place, so we will be distributing 100% of our net profit on a standalone basis after the legal reserves. So this dividend policy will stay in place.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions, perhaps? Well, yes, in this case, we thank you very much for your participation, and yeah, speak to you in 3 months. And of course, anytime you have any questions or yes, you want some clarification from us. Thank you and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Likewise. Bye-bye.
All right.